Chapter 76 Lines of Trust. The aftermath of the first breach hung over Sublevel 7 like a low fog, heavy and persistent. The hum of the servers was no longer comforting. It was a reminder, a heartbeat that measured tension as much as it measured activity. Nova pulsed quietly, adaptive algorithms still active, monitoring every corner of the system for residual intrusions or anomalies. Alara paced the central console, reviewing every subroutine affected by the breach. The operator had not only tested their technical defenses, they had tested their trust. Every decision during the breach had required split-second judgment, reliance on team cohesion, and absolute confidence in Nova's capabilities. And while the team had emerged intact, the strain was visible in subtle ways. Slight hesitations, tense glances, and the unspoken question of whether everyone could continue to be relied upon under pressure. Draven leaned against the console, arms crossed. We survived, but we're vulnerable in ways beyond code. Morale, confidence, cohesion, they're all part of the battlefield now. The operator knows that. They'll exploit any crack in trust. Alara nodded, biting her lip. We can't let them. Not inside this lab, not inside Nova. We need absolute transparency. Lines of communication open, every action justified, every choice documented. Kellen, monitoring external systems and decoy nodes, added, Transparency only works if everyone actually trusts each other. And after that breach, everyone's doubts are amplified. Even a single misstep could cascade. Alara exhaled, straightening. Then we rebuild trust. Start with clarity. Debrief every action during the breach. Explain why each decision was made, what outcomes were anticipated, and what contingency plans were in place. The team gathered in the central chamber, screens displaying Nova's logs, decoy sequences, and the operator's attempted maneuvers. Nova's holographic interface projected key metrics in the air, lines of code and flowcharts intertwining like a digital web. Alara addressed the group. During the breach, every decision mattered. Every hesitation, every assumption could have led to compromise. I want each of you to walk me through your choices. No judgment, no blame, only clarity. Lyra was first. When the operator infiltrated the secondary node, I prioritized isolating the command pathways to prevent cascading failure. It wasn't the fastest solution, but it ensured we maintained control over the network's core. Good, Alara said. And Nova? I anticipated secondary vectors and rerouted non-essential processes to decoys, Nova responded. Adaptive reinforcement algorithms minimized potential damage while allowing human operators to intervene. Probability of containment success, 82%. Draven stepped forward. I monitored team interactions and resource allocation. I ensured no single individual was overloaded, which could lead to mistakes or missed anomalies. My priority was cohesion under stress. Kellen added, I maintained external decoy networks and simulated false vulnerabilities. This forced the operator to expend energy on non-essential pathways, reducing pressure on the core systems. Alara nodded, absorbing the explanations. Every action had been deliberate, coordinated, and intentional. Yet she could sense the lingering tension, subtle hesitations as team members glanced at one another. The breach had shaken them, forced them to confront their limits and the fragility of trust. Now, Alara said, taking a deep breath, we address the question Nova asked during the breach. Are we prepared to trust each other completely? To assume that each action is made with collective understanding, even under uncertainty? There was a pause. The weight of the question hung in the air, heavier than any line of code or algorithm. It wasn't a matter of technical skill. It was about belief, loyalty, and shared responsibility. Lyra spoke first. I trust the team. I trust Nova. But trust alone isn't enough. We need protocols, redundancy, and accountability. If one of us falters, we need mechanisms to prevent cascading failure. Agreed, Draven said. Trust must be operationalized, documented, verified, and reinforced constantly. It's not blind faith, it's structured confidence, built into every procedure. Alara turned to Kellen. And you? I trust the team, he said, voice steady. But I also trust the process, the systems we put in place, the countermeasures, Nova's oversight. They're designed to catch errors before they become catastrophic. That's the foundation of trust, not just belief in individuals, but belief in the network we've built together. Nova's voice chimed in, smooth and steady. Trust probability metrics within team operations 87%. Operational cohesion maintained. Recommendations, periodic verification exercises, continuous monitoring, and reinforcement of interdependent protocols. Alara exhaled slowly, feeling the tension ease slightly. The first breach had tested their systems, their skills, and their resolve, but the lines of trust could be rebuilt, fortified, and strengthened. Then it's settled, Alara said, turning back to the central console. We reinforce the network, we reinforce Nova, and we reinforce each other. The operator will try again, but we will be ready. Not just with code, but with cohesion, clarity, and confidence. The following hours were spent implementing new verification protocols, stress testing communication channels, and simulating future intrusions. Nova projected multiple scenarios, including highly improbable but potentially catastrophic sequences, ensuring the team was prepared for every contingency. As they worked, Alara reflected on the operator's strategy. The first breach had been a test of technical defenses, but more importantly, it had been a test of human resilience. Confidence, morale, judgment, and cohesion had been targeted, and while the team had survived, the operator's psychological warfare had left a mark. We must remember, Alara said aloud, fingers tracing lines of code, that every future engagement will be both technical and psychological. Nova can adapt, but humans have limits. Our strength is in coordination, transparency, and the lines of trust we maintain. Lose that, and the operator gains an advantage no firewall can stop. Draven nodded. Agreed. And we will not lose it. Not if we are vigilant, deliberate, and honest with each other. Even as the night stretched on, the team's energy remained high, driven by determination and shared purpose. Nova's presence was reassuring, a silent partner that absorbed, processed, and predicted. But it was the human element, communication, judgment, and trust, that had ultimately stabilized the lab. Alara sat back, rubbing her temples, exhausted but resolute. Lines of trust, she murmured. They're as vital as any firewall, any protocol, any algorithm, and we will guard them fiercely. Outside, the city slept beneath a thin layer of mist. Neon lights reflected in puddles, flickering softly like the pulse of an artificial heartbeat. Drones moved silently above the streets, unaware of the human and artificial forces below, locked in silent preparation for the next engagement. Alara's terminal pinged. A simple message appeared, encoded in a style distinct from the operator's usual communications. Acknowledged. Trust reestablished. Probability of sustained operational integrity 91%. Proceed with vigilance. A shiver ran down her spine. The operator had left their mark, but for the first time since the breach, there was a sense of equilibrium. Not victory, far from it, but a moment of clarity, a chance to rebuild before the next challenge. We've survived the first breach, Alara said, voice firm, and we will survive the next, together. The team gathered one last time, reinforcing protocols, sharing insights, and reaffirming commitment. Trust had been tested, stretched, and strained, but it had held. And somewhere deep within Nova's core, lines of code pulsed with awareness, mapping, adapting, and preparing for the operator's inevitable return. The first breach had passed, but the battle for control, understanding, and trust had only just begun.